In 2017, I started a YouTube channel. A different one, not this one. I was still a student working on my degree, film and media arts with an animation emphasis. I made dozens of videos on that channel, capping out at around 400 subscribers, but it's long gone now. Of all the silly videos I made on it, there were two that I think can be adequately categorized as my important ones. One was a mini documentary that somehow landed me in a pretty large indie film festival. The other one is a video cut from 2 hours of footage of the inside of an art installation museum. 20-something minutes, 96 views. And it was, before I privatized it to release this one, the longest publicly available video of the inside of this building. In the fall of 2018, my friend Vi and I decided to go on a bunch of adventures to see and film the spookiest, most mysterious locations around Salt Lake City, not counting the spookiest place of all, the Temple. The series was called Not the Temple. I had a whole list of locations. The Ted Bundy cellar, Emo's grave, the mysterious green daycare on 13th that's actually just a regular daycare that mostly serves low-income families with babies too young to play outside who get dropped off earlier in the day than most people are out. Guys, I know it looks weird, but it is just a regular daycare. Please leave those people alone. Anyway, the first video we made was on the grave of Lily E. Gray, inscribed with the chilling inscription, "Victim of the Beast 666. We went to the graveyard, walked around, searching for it using geographical coordinates, found it, said, "Wow, cool," and then inhaled some ice cream cones.
Are you eating it?
It turns out Lily Gray died of natural causes, and her inscription was ordered by her crackpot, far-right, pathological liar husband, and the Beast 666 was meant to mean the Democrats. Utah. The second location we visited was a mysterious building on State Street. If you've lived in Salt Lake for a while, there's a big chance you drove past it at one point and thought to yourself, what the fuck was that? And that's exactly what we thought. We had to check it out. So we took my camera, parked, and we investigated. There was a visitor schedule painted on the door, but nobody was there. In the windows, we could see construction or renovation detritus, but more than that, sculptures. We even went around back where we found a yard full of sculpted headstones. Our curiosity was piqued. We figured it must be abandoned because there was no other way it would be so overgrown and dusty. And right as we were about to leave, a car pulled up, and an old man in a nightgown tottered out of it. The old man's name was Raphael Plessia. He offered to give us a tour, which we enthusiastically accepted, first getting his permission to film inside. He walked us through the whole building, from the old skeleton of a decades-closed barbershop, to the relics from when the building used to belong to his mechanic father, to his own museum space, full of original paintings and cement and concrete sculptures emerging from every surface. Nude celestial women and dragons and babies seeming to grow out of the walls. And Jesus. Lots of paintings of Jesus. The first floor was a museum, not only to Plessia's beliefs, but also his own life, and the lives of people he used to share the space with, all dead now. Up the stairs was an atrium, also constructed by Ralph, with windows directly up into the sky, and a ceiling painted to look like heaven, complete with figures from Ralph's own life who had passed away, including his daughter. Old instruments hung on the wall and leaned up against work tables. The pièce de résistance, though, was the basement. Down a narrow flight of stairs led you to what used to be a cellar, but with one added doorway dug straight into the rock of the foundation. A dragon's mouth, huge and gaping. The entrance to hell. We squeezed through it, looking down at a gated installation of cement sinners reaching up from the pit to us. And out of the tunnel and back into the light, Satan, the serpent, and a pristine white Eve reaching skyward toward the apple. My camera battery was running out by the time we got down there, which is a shame because it was definitely my favorite part. Plessia's creation is a museum to his belief in the goddess of wisdom, subject of Revelations 12. God's secret wife who is written out of the Bible and the Book of Mormon by bad or otherwise ignorant actors, according to Raphael. This personal theology was unspeakably important to him, enough to spend decades digging out the foundation of this building all the way down to the groundwater in order to get the word out to anyone who would listen. Anyone like 2 dipshit college YouTubers. His museum housed dozens of pieces of art, ranging from small 1960s bubble letters built into the walls to enormous lizards and faces. I can only come close to accurately describing what it felt like to stand in there by saying that it was like standing inside someone's soul. If you combine all the individual pieces together, I can confidently say that Raphael Plessia's Christian School is one of the most impactful pieces of art I have ever had the privilege of seeing. Or at least, it was. Ralph Plessia died in 2022. His widow passed in March. His family didn't own the building, they were leasing it from Shriners Hospital. The Utah Arts Alliance made a valiant effort to buy it, but they weren't given a fair chance before Shriners sold it to one of the biggest real estate development companies in the state. They tore the building down in May. Neither Shriners Hospital nor the Colmena Group commented on the artist community's outrage. The Utah Arts Alliance wasn't given a chance to buy the building, but they did manage to save several of the pieces. Anything that wasn't nailed down, or in this case, literally built into the walls. A lot of it is displayed at the Art Castle, a local venue and sculpture garden. Fortunately, they took a ton of pictures too. You can see them on spacesarchives.org. I've linked that below with the other documentaries that I pulled footage from. I highly recommend that you give them a look. Plessia's house also went up for sale this summer. The Arts Alliance pulled a lot of art out of there, too, before it went up. I found out through social media, from people filming walkthroughs of the place during an open house. I didn't get a chance to see the inside before it sold. I did save all the listing photos from the MLS, so I could look at the periwinkle color drenching, the details cemented into the walls, the giant painting of the Lincoln assassination. It didn't sell for very much, at least not in this area. Apparently it had pretty bad water damage and mold, which makes sense. Plessia didn't seem too concerned with the structural soundness of his buildings, so long as they served their purposes as canvas. I want to believe his house was sold to someone who understands. Tosh and I drove past it, and we talked to a contractor who was working on it. He told us that the new owners were repairing it rather than just tearing it down. But even then, I don't know how much of what's left there is going to survive. But at the same time, the last time I saw it was when the artist was alive. Which means that's the version that will live in my mind long after they've filled the lot with overpriced luxury apartments that will sit empty for years. When we went to shoot B-roll of the lot, it was really clear where they dumped things to fill in where the basement was dug out. And I have to wonder if you could still find pieces of hell if you dug. It's weird to watch things change like this. I'm not good with change. I made a whole show about it. Even though Raphael himself speculated that his work would be lost after his death and didn't seem that broken up about it, I'm broken up about it. But like, why? I only saw the place once. And I'm gonna be really blunt here. It's not like all of his work is necessarily good. Many of his figures have strange anatomy, with limbs too long and too skinny, beady eyes that are too close together, wide open mouths like Plessia couldn't get them to look right when they were closed. I've seen a lot of good art, the kind where nobody argues about the quality or the merit. I've seen centuries-old classical paintings in museums. I've seen artifacts from ancient civilizations. If you asked me to describe a specific one, I don't think that I could. How is this the thing that sticks? I've sat on this script for a couple of days trying to figure out the point. Usually when I start drafting a script for a video, I already know what I'm trying to say with it. But I don't know with this one. There's a lot here that I feel like I can't quite grasp fully. I could say something about our society's disdain for art, something about how Plessia's one-of-a-kind landmark museum was viewed by property owners as nothing more than a square on a map, no more valuable than a gravel lot. I could talk about Dyer's Point, about how artists in Salt Lake get priced out of spaces by luxury condo developers. I could talk about gentrification. My favorite punk venue, the one I filmed the self-insert video in, is on the same street a couple blocks down. I'm seeing the gentrification happen in real time. I don't know how much longer the Beehive will be able to hold out if rent prices keep going up. I got kinda far talking about how imperfect art might be the best showcase of our humanity, its unmasked vulnerability, the true antithesis of the creativity-destroying perfectionism that incentivizes things like AI image generation. But even that felt incomplete. Like it wasn't the true reason why I've been thinking about this so much. What I really wanted to do was answer the question, why does this make me so sad? Maybe I wouldn't have been so deeply impacted by Plessia's work if it hadn't been so wreathed in impermanence. The context definitely added something. Seeing the dusty old barber chair, the disintegrating photographs, listening to him tell us that it would probably be destroyed when he died, and looking at this very frail, very old man and thinking, shit, that's probably not very far off at all. It was impossible not to think of the physical art I've produced. The dozens of pounds of notebooks and sketchbooks that I have on shelves and under my bed, going all the way back to when I was in kindergarten. What's going to happen to all of that when I die? Surely some college student isn't going to look through it and then spend the rest of her life thinking about it. The closest I've come to answering my own question is that the life and death of Ralph's Christian School is a perfect microcosm of the life and death of a real person, isn't it? It was there for a long time. It thrived in many different phases, people coming and going, the world chugging on around it and changing just as much. And then it got old, the maintenance got harder, but all those marks of life, passion, creativity, opinion, stayed in there. Little pieces became important to other people, even if no one person could accurately recreate the whole thing. It reached a tipping point when the end was fast approaching, and all the people who cared the most made preparations for what to do when the end came. And then the end came. And now all we have left of this museum, of this art installation, is what the people who experienced it brought out. Sculptures and video footage, and blue-painted ships of rubble. That's how it works for all of us, isn't it? They all get demolished, and the only pieces of us that survive are the pieces other people take with them. But it's never the full picture. There are always dragons and flowers and open-mouthed faces that have to be buried with the rest of the structure. We're all too complicated to perfectly preserve, in spite of the best efforts by our loved ones, and sometimes by complete strangers.